The exhibition's title, Through the Eye of a Needle, is excerpted from a New Testament proverb. It is easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to get into heaven. Genesis Belanger's first major museum exhibition and her newest and largest installation to date takes this old adage to task. Conceived prior to the outbreak of the unprecedented COVID-19 pandemic, visitors might find its tenor hauntingly farsighted. Charging the galleries with a perceptible funerary atmosphere, the exhibition features dozens of ceramic objects cast in wondrously gloomy and weirdly absurd cameos that mime motifs around mourning and healing. Staged on ghostly upholstered furniture, objects of her own invention, Belanger's charismatic arrangements impersonate bereavement rituals and sympathy gifts exchanged during processes of great transition and grief. Frozen in time and deserted of guests, this allegorical mise-en-scene pictures an incident of palpable uncertainty, an uneasy foreboding that prophesizes troubling times ahead. Belanger takes her cues from populist and highbrow sources with a penchant for fetishizing and fracturing women's bodies, vintage advertising, contemporary cartoons, and art history. She uses beauty, she says, because it is a powerful tool. Her practice orbits some of the most prominent art movements of the last 5 centuries, the Baroque, Surrealism, Pop art, and the Chicago Imagists. But her inimitable creations are charged with a self-possessed feminism that undoubtedly appraises this image-saturated moment with dark humor. Informed by a professional career inside the fashion and advertising industries, as an assistant styling sets and building props for corporate campaigns, Belanger formulated a technique partially indebted to her experiences. She bases her objects on illustrations she makes daily in pencil and ink inside bound notebooks and on loose paper. She also records concepts for possible methods of presentation and itemizes production schedules. Selecting porcelains and stoneware for their natural shades, she creates objects that are uniformly matte, their surfaces masquerading as stone and feigning a patent suppleness. She favors rounds and curves and forms her shapes from flat patterns pressed into clay sheets rolled out on a slab. The objects, hand-shaped, smooth, and hollow, are only fired once. Belanger never uses glazes. Instead, she pigments the clay with powdered colors mixed in with a kitchen mixer. The palette is soft and confectionery, creams, beiges, and pastels, and bestows the objects with an air of mid-century wistfulness. The objects on view enact token offerings and material gestures that Belanger says do not seem to suit the severity of the experience of grief. Her fashioned interior reveals an event disturbed by a community that has disappeared. Both eerily familiar and distantly morbid, the setting gives the impression of a site somewhere between a living room and a funeral parlor. Genesis Belanger was born in 1978 in Massachusetts and lives and works in New York City.